Hello and welcome to the Radiant Soul podcast with your host Shirley. Did you forget just how amazing, beautiful and powerful you are, my love? Did you forget how innately worthy, deserving and lovable you are, and how infinitely abundant and rich you are as a soul living right now in this moment? It's okay. We live in a world where we are constantly bombarded with messaging and marketing that tells us we are lacking, incapable or not enough. This is the podcast to disrupt that pattern. We're going to bulldoze some beliefs and behaviors that don't serve us, and we're going to remind you just how perfect, whole, and awesome you are right now, helping you live your best life with full agency and remembrance of why you are here. I'm Shirley, a lifelong dedicated radiant soul, and I'll be your host as we journey deep and have fun learning how to live a radiant soul life that is your best life. But first, I wish to acknowledge, and please forgive any mispronunciation, that this podcast is being recorded in my home in Montreal, also known as Tiohtià:ke, which lies on unceded Indigenous lands and waters, which the Kanyen'kehá:ka Nation is recognised as the custodians, and I honour them, this land, and my ability to bring this podcast to you from here. Thank you for joining me, and let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to this week's episode of the Radiant Soul podcast. This is a follow-on from a Soul Shots episode I did a couple of weeks ago about like how to tap into love and how to tap into the love that's universal and that's all around us, and how like it can be really easy to forget that we are love, that we are creation itself, which is love. And especially when life is just throwing all kinds of stuff at us, it can feel really difficult. I find I often forget when I'm in the middle of altercations with my son, and it's like, you know, we're sort of at loggerheads with each other. And there was just moments where finding like what's going on, you know, and connecting to my heart space and connecting to love is really difficult. So in that Soul Shots episode, I think it's called How to Tap into Love, that's like a precursor to this episode, and it's really teaches you about sort of like learning how to just tap into your heart, how to like listen to your heart. There's a beautiful foundation called Heart Math. I think it's heartmath.org, and I'll put it in the show notes, and they basically teach this method and go much deeper with it. And it's a real method of tapping into your heart space and into the love that is present there already. But I want to take this to another step, like another layer really. And that's about how to use this in your daily life and to listen to your heart voice, because listening to your heart voice is a very different skill than listening to the voices in our head or our intuition or whatever it is. And like sometimes we get so caught up in the moment, so caught up in what's going on and in other people's wishes and dreams and desires and goals, that we lose sight of ourselves, we lose sight of who we are, you know. And one of the things that I do in all of the work, and I've been obsessed with ever since I was a young child, is how to come home to oneself, how to come home to who you are as a soul, as a heart, as a being on this planet. And coming home to oneself is a skill, because especially now more than ever, we live in a world where we are bombarded with information, with feeds, with posts. Like, I mean, you watch TikTok and it's literally, I watch it training my son how to have a memory shorter than a goldfish. And we're constantly being bombarded with this stuff. And so knowing how to listen to your heart voice is really important. And it may, you know, things might show up where you just don't know what to say or what to do right now. And like, we're always expected to have an answer. We're always expected to know. And if we don't know, we should find out really quickly and then say something. And it just goes against how our hearts actually work, how our souls actually work. And one of the key things to this is to just be still. And if you don't know what it is to say, if you don't know what it is to put out there, then it's okay. Like, it's not meant to be anything right now. It's just meant to be stillness. And so what you need to learn in that time is to be still and quiet, and like to learn to listen with your heart ears. Like almost imagine your heart has ears, and then just tune into those ears. Like, what does your heart want to hear? What does your heart want to say? And you can listen to the voices around you. You can listen to the voices in your immediate circle, in your feed, on your Facebook, on your TV, and on your inbox. And you can just witness from a space of distance, a space of awareness. Like, what are those voices speaking up for? What are those voices saying? Like, are they actually in alignment with my heart voice? And if you want to just tap into this, it's just then listening to the small voice of truth inside you. How do those other voices feel when your heart ears hear them? You know, is the resonance or is the discord? And really learning to sit in the stillness and the presence of your heart when you're filtering through what's coming into your feed, what's coming into your consciousness. Like, where does it fit in your heart voice truth? And it's like learning those very subtle shifts of, you know, a vibration of resonance or discord, or just things that are off, or things that sort of rile you, you know, like really sitting in the stillness of being aware of that, just not even reacting, not even coming from a place of emotional reaction, but just an awareness. And then you can like, look, you know, are your values the same as what's coming up? Are your outward values still holding true to your inner quiet voice? Is the resonance or is the discord? And the invitation is to just listen with your heart ears. And like, when it's time, like, you'll know exactly how to act, what to do and say when it's the right time. And it will come from a very centered, compassionate, loving space. And you'll be guided by the voice of truth that is inside you, that is love. And if you're like in the middle of an altercation, if you're in the middle of dealing with life and you're not enjoying what's being like right in your awareness, just tapping back into your heart space, tapping back in, like, what's the discord? What is the gap between the resonance and the discord? Like, what is that? Is that showing up elsewhere? Is that something that is a belief? Is an identity that you've created that's stopping this middle space being loving, being good? Like, what is that? And just bringing curiosity and compassion. Like, don't come in this by berating yourself and shaming yourself and like, oh, I should always be like, none of us ever are. That's why these are called practice because we have to practice often. Like, you know, I on a regular basis don't remember this, and then I come back to it and I remember it, and it's like that moment of truth inside me that it's like, oh yeah. And then when you can stay in that place, and when you can drop into that place as often as possible, it can literally just be part of your daily routine to just like drop back into your heart and open those ears and listen to your heart voice. It could just be like simple thing, like every time you go to the toilet, that's what you do. Like, add it onto a habit that you do multiple times a day. Like every time you make a cup of coffee or a tea or drink a glass of water, just put the glass down after you drank, or your cup down, and then just have that little moment of opening up your heart ears. And the more you do this, the more you learn your own resonance, the more you learn what's true for you versus what is noise outside of you. And it's the only place you really should be acting from. It really is the only place a radiant soul acts from, because it's them coming from their home place. It's like, that's where home is. That is where your soul resides, in the truth of who you are. And you have to be very careful that there isn't like an identity filter over this. And I think you can tell, because if there is like a truth will feel emotional, like, this is my truth, like, I, you know, and it will sort of rile you. You'll be kind of wanting to force it to happen, or force your truth on the world, whereas like that's coming from a lens of a an identity, a misguided belief of who you are. Like that is coming from a place that isn't actually your truth. But when it's your truth, it will just feel calm. It will feel loving. It will feel clear. It's like a crystal mountain lake versus like a raging river. And so this is what I want to invite you to, into this deeper practice of listening to your heart voice. And especially if you don't know what you're doing, especially if you're confused, especially if you have a big decision to make and you just can't feel into it, or if something is triggering you or upsetting you, like really coming back to this place of stillness of the heart and opening those heart ears and listening to the truths there, feeling in with curiosity and compassion. Like, can't stress that enough. Curiosity and compassion is all you need in this moment, you know. And what is the discord? What is the resonance? What's the gap in between? Be curious, ask those questions, and be willing to be still and quiet enough and abide in your heart space to allow that. And while we're sort of on this, I want to talk about, like, in terms of chakras, but like there's a big massive push to sort of go to the root chakras and open up, you know, and question from your yoni and your womb. And while these are all really beautiful practices, I would especially say that your womb is a far more potent place than your yoni, your pussy is, you know. I mean, if you look at the work of Mama Gina, it's all about the pussy. And the womb is actually a sort of deeper, stronger, more what's the word, like more potent heart. And so this can also work there, you know. And you can imagine joining your womb space and your heart space. And for men listening, like, you have an energetic womb. So like just connect to that as if you did, like, you know, ignore anatomy, but there is an energetic womb space that we all have. And connecting to that and connecting to your heart truth from there, like it's all one. But from my experience, it's like the heart space is where the lower chakras and the higher chakras tend to sort of meet and radiate out from. It's kind of where it's told that your soul abides in your heart. I mean, to me, it just is, you know, to me, it feels like my heart truth. And this is exactly where you need to listen to your heart voice. This is exactly where you need to feel into the resonance of this. And if it doesn't resonate, find your truth in this. Find where it really resonates for you. Find where that potent place is of calmness and the truth of who you are is there. Like, you will know where it is. It will feel like a clear crystal mountain lake. It won't be muddied by anything. It won't be muddied by emotions. It won't be muddied by beliefs. It will be clear. And it will feel, you know, like a tuning fork. It will feel very crystal clear inside you. So this is the invitation, you know. And the same with everything on my podcast, and the same with everything in your feed, everything you listen to. Like, this is where you get to like open your heart ears and hear what's resonant for you. And then you get to take that into how you move through the world, into who you are as a person. And the more you practice doing this, the more second nature it becomes. And then you know, before you know it, one day you're literally living and your truth, you're living your heart truth, you're living your soul truth, you're living this radiant, soulful, beautiful life, because you kept coming back to the truth inside you. And it's never more important than when the noise outside is extra loud, is to just come back, you know. And if you have to remove yourself to the bathroom for a few minutes to do this, do it. Like, give yourself that gift, because when you give yourself that gift, you give everybody else the gift that is you. And that's what we all want, right? We want you to be you. We want you to be this radiant soul that lights up the world from a place of truth from yourself. Because the more people that do this, Honestly, the less crap in the world. Like, the more we are resonant with our truth, with our heart truth, with our love truth, with who we are as a soul connected to all, as all, then the more a beautiful world we live in, the more of a connected world we live in, the more we can then understand when we look around us what it is we're seeing, and how we're seeing creation that's connected, and how we're seeing God in everything, and how we're seeing ourselves in everything. And it's just this beautiful way of tapping in, and it's a practice. And a practice means you have to do it. Like, so if this resonates, I mean, go listen to the Soul Shots episode 2. I think it was on July the 27th, Wednesday it released. And that gives you just the really quick basic practice that you can do, just dropping into your heart. I wish you the most beautiful truth guided day that is guided by your heart space, your heart voice, listening with your heart ears and radiating that out into the world, because I love you. Bye. To find out more about how to work with me, then visit soulartbyshirley.com, where you can find out about commissioning your very own uniquely channeled radiant soul painting, purchase soul art and prints directly from the art shop, or join one of my courses. And if you love this podcast, then please share with your friends, leave a review, and hit the subscribe button so you won't miss another episode. Plus, as a thank you for leaving a review, take a screenshot of your posted review and send it to soulartbyshirley@gmail.com to receive a free copy of your Radiant Soul Hypnosis. Thank you for listening to the Radiant Soul Podcast, and as always, I love you.